Hi, I'm Viktor Gamov. Imagine you have a Kafka topic, you want to read the messages from this topic, transform them in some way, and put the result to another topic. In this Kafka tutorial, I will show you how we can use Kafka Streams, which is stream processing framework that's built in with Apache Kafka, to achieve this task. So let's get to it. Okay, we're in this how to transform stream event tutorial page, and make sure that you select Kafka Stream version of this tutorial. So we were going to be starting by initializing project and creating the folders where we'll put all our files. Next, we need to bring components of Confluent platform, specifically Zookeeper, Broker, and Scheme Registry, since we're using Avro in this tutorial. And this Docker Compose comes handy where we have everything pre-configured for you. Next, we need to start those components by executing Docker Compose up command. Also, we're using -d flag that allows us to run this in background. Next, we need to create a build.gradle, which will include our dependencies and include some of the utilities. For example, it will include Uber jar compiler that will produce like fat jar, big jar, executable jar for our application. Next thing, we're executing Gradle wrapper that allows us to have this small utility so you can execute the builds in places where you don't have a Gradle installed. Next, we need to create development configuration for our code. This tutorial supports development, test, and production configurations. We'll start with development. Since we're using local installed components, we're going to be using Bootstrap server and Scheme Registry as a local host. Our input and output data will be structured in Avro format. So we need to create two schemas for input topic. In this case, it's going to be input movie event for raw movies. Raw meaning that title will also include year. This is what we're trying to fix in this tutorial, and put year as a separate property of this Avro object. Now we'll copy paste in here. Notice this button on the right top of every code block that allows you to select everything that's inside this code block. And next, we need to create parsed movie schema that will represent a structure of transformed movie. As you can see here, titled and release year are separate properties here. So we need to create Java classes from the schema. So in this case, we need to execute Gradle build that will invoke Avro compiler that does the job. So next, we need to create directory for our Java file. In this case, cmon Java. We'll create the package IO Confluent developer, where we will put our transform stream Java class that will include our topology and application code and so forth and so on. We go ahead, copy everything and paste in our editor. Once we're done with this, we need to generate a runnable shadow jar that will include all dependencies and application code in one jar, so you can be easily distributed across various environments in your system. Next thing, we're executing Java -jar with this executable jar and passing configuration parameters as application property. We also need to check if we see state transition message from partition assigned to running, meaning that our application is ready to consume data. Next, I'll switch to another terminal so I can use producer and consumer to produce some test data. In this tutorial, we're providing you with some testing data that you also can copy paste, but feel free to experiment and play around with data and see what kind of result you will have. Once we're done with this, we need to click Ctrl+C in order to close this command and see if we will start consumer and see if we have a transformed data out in the console. As you can see here, a title now includes only text and release year is a separate property. And that was it. Hopefully, this will helpful to you to learn how you can use Kafka streams to do stream processing and do some transformation of the messages. So I'll see you on the next one, and as always, have a nice day.